issues that have destroyed my life? Well, my friend, I have the answer. Bible Way Hibner Memorial Church of God in Christ presents Chain Breakers, this and every Sunday at 9 a.m. here on WHYL.
From the L.B. Smith Ford Lincoln Studios, Oldies 102.9 is WHYL Carlisle.
Welcome to the Real Estate Radio Guys, your weekly source for all things real estate. We're your hosts, real estate broker John Rainville and your mortgage expert Kingsley Harmer discuss everything from mortgage rates to home staging for foreclosures and everything in between. Real Estate Radio Guys, real estate market, real Kingsley Harmer, real questions, real answers. Today's show is brought to you by www.pagoloan.com, your source for new mortgage loans.
Good morning. It's John Rainville from Brokers Realty, one of the real estate radio guys, and my co-host today is Kingsley Harmer. Good morning, Kingsley. How are you doing?
Good morning. I was getting blown around a little bit this morning on the way here.
Yeah, I thought the winds were supposed to die off like, overnight or something.
Nope.
Man, I felt like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz.
I got a couple of messages saying, one of my rental properties, you're missing some siding. Oh, wait, and some fascia now. So I got a little bit of work to do this afternoon.
A lot of trees down here, but I'm glad we're not, up in the Poconos where, I've got 3 offices up there, and whoa, I mean, they got like a foot of snow. Their power's out. Oh yeah, brutal.
Nice.
Some of the people I know had to go to hotels because they had no power, and then some of the hotels lost their power.
Well, there's a lot of homes right around the Valley Green area. All their power's been out all day yesterday.
Yeah, over by Big Dogs in Mechanicsburg. Yeah, I mean, there's big areas still out. When I came out of my neighborhood today to come over here, as soon as I made the turn out of my neighborhood, there were the flashing lights. And, tree down right there on, Old York Road. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely windy. And as I was telling John earlier, there's driving down the highway over the bridge. As soon as you hit the bridge on 83, your car just moves 3 feet instantly. Almost right over to the other lane.
Just phenomenal. Well, we've got a pretty interesting show lined up again today. We're going to be talking with
Jannene Miller from Mark 1 Restoration. It almost kind of seems appropriate today.
I thought so too.
Because
we planned it.
Almost like you did. But I mean, we've got, producers that work in the background, that put these shows together on the fly. Not. But, this was kind of planned. But, it with the wind yesterday.
With the windstorms, the high water.
Right.
High water.
Combination thereof.
And then we, our favorite home inspector, John Staz from EnviroQuest, later on in the show, he's going to be talking about sump pump issues. It's very timely right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've got a high water table right now. That's why we're losing some of the trees in the windstorms right now, because the ground is just so soft. It's some brutal weather, man. I mean, so March is supposed, if it comes in like a lion, it's supposed to go out like a lamb, right?
But what happened to April showers bring May flowers? I mean, we're like March showers. I mean, we've had rain, and a little bit of snow. And for the next week, it's like 5 days of rain straight.
I didn't even look at that.
All week, I'm like,
don't be telling me that.
Well, I'm always looking for that little tick as far as the temperature.
Sunshine, no.
Yeah, that too. But so the sump pumps obviously being a timely topic. One of the things that goes wrong, obviously, if you don't have a sump pump, is your water can fill it with or your basement can fill it with water. And what do you do, right? So. The guest we have coming on, Jannene Miller, is going to talk about the steps that you should go through, the pitfalls that you can have, and, of course, what type of home damage and or disasters that you have that they can repair at Mark 1 Restoration. So before she calls in, which I think is here in the next couple of minutes. Let's talk about the market a little bit. I mean, I've seen new construction, they say, is down a little bit.
Well, I mean, they were stating, things that came out of the national board said that, sales in January, and when they say sales, they actually mean closings, were down to the lowest level since October of 2014. We did see some of that, but a lot of that, folks, you have to remember, goes back to November, December. That means that the sales weren't put in November and December in order for them to close or people to go to settlement and get the keys in January. So I do know that the market nationwide was down. Here in the general Northeast, it was down about 9%. Our company saw really no downturn at all in December or January. I did talk with another broker here locally in central Pennsylvania who indicated to me that they actually had their worst February ever for closings. But we're still seeing, a shortage of inventory. And, you and I were just talking earlier about this. I mean, I was just ecstatic. Our firm, just out of doing some new beta testing on some new things, just out of a couple offices took 31 listings last month, which is huge. So the inventory does seem that it's coming back on. Seeing definitely the upper end market starting to come back on. I'm talking things, $500,000 up, 725, 1.1, where they're starting to definitely get the confidence to come back and try and sell it. Now, that said, though, I'm not sure if some of them, because of the new tax ramifications, with the interest cap at $750,000 on the mortgage, et cetera, if that's not going to drive some of it. But I guess, as the year plays out, we'll get to see it.
We'll find out. I can't see them putting their house on the market because of a little bit of interest deduction over that 750 cap, but I've seen stranger things. But on the flip side, as you probably well know, we've hit rates kind of the highest level in 4 years.
But it's still like free money. I mean, I just have to chuckle when they say about these rates because, all right, so what was the highest rate we've seen here now last week? What were you seeing?
Well, I mean, we were pushing like 4.6.
Oh my gosh!
And then I know
it's still like free money.
It ticked back down a little bit, and then every day you've got some new report coming out where the market goes haywire.
So still lower than what was anticipated to happen in 16 or
last
17.
Year. Because remember last year we were at the beginning of the year we were thinking 5%.
Yeah,
right.
Still,
so
low.
We're still 0.5%, lower than what they anticipated over a year ago. So again, I mean, it does change for those people that are trying to stretch their buying power to the last dollar. But overall, it's not going to change your payment, that much as far as what your affordability is. It's still cheaper to own a home than it is to rent, especially in this market. So, take advantage now.
Right,
take advantage early.
If you are trying to buy and you know that you're tight, don't delay. I mean, if you're trying to stretch and get into that $200,000 home, a little bit of an uptick, can do it. And also, as we get into spring, folks, I mean, I know it's only really like a month away, not even that. As we head into spring and people want to get into their homes before school starts, that tends to increase competition and increase prices. So right now here
and
March,
time on the market.
Yep, you absolutely still have, a great window of opportunity to buy something with a little bit less competition. And it's still rates that I just find to be like
rates. Rates are still great. I mean, and at the end of the day, I mean, be prepared because in a competitive market, you could be 3-4 bids or buyers that are putting in on a house, and if you're not ready to go with that house to put the offer in, you're going to miss out. If that's the home you want, and as we have limited inventory, obviously there's going to be a lot of competition. So get pre-qualified. Go to pagoloan.com. It's free consultation to go over payments, or give me a call at the office, 717-200-4800. We've got Jannene on the line, and we're going to talk about what happens when a big gust of wind takes a big pine tree and shoves it right through the side of your house.
Did the winds blow out the volcano?
They did.
They did.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah. Jannene, good morning. Are you there?
Good morning. Yes, I am.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. How about you?
Oh, well, not too bad. Hair's a little wind blown and the rest of that, but other than that, I can't complain.
That was crazy yesterday.
Everywhere. I mean, did you see some of the damage around town? Did you get calls? Obviously a company that deals with this. I mean, what have you seen?
Well, I was on the road yesterday, so I experienced a lot of trash cans on the road, but we got quite a few calls. Trees were a big thing. Our receptionist actually couldn't even get home because there were trees all over her road, but luckily we handle trees that fall on houses, fixing the house and taking the tree off the house. Shingles blow off, so people then get water damage because when the shingles blow off, the rain goes in. So all kinds of things. So,
Jannene, it's John. What can you give us a general, scope of your company, what you guys do, how long you've been around? You guys aren't just chucking a truck.
Right. Mark One Restoration Service, we've actually been around. This is our 36th year. We're a regional company. We've got offices in New Jersey, Philadelphia, Allentown area, Harrisburg, Gettysburg. So we service Maryland into the closer areas of Maryland, over the Gettysburg and Chambersburg borders. We specialize in pretty much anything property damage related. So fire, smoke, water damage, biohazard cleanup, which, water damage is pretty large. It's frozen pipes, which we had a lot of recently, flooding, backup of sewer, storm damage, so wind, of course. And then we not only do the mitigation, which is the cleanup of all of that, but we can do the full reconstruction. So we're staffed to be able to build a house from the ground up, which the nice thing about that is it's a one-stop shop. People don't have to find us to clean up the mess or the loss and then go find someone else to build it. We can basically take care of all of that. And we, of course, have our certifications. Our people are certified, and we follow the industry standards and have a good reputation. So I'm really happy to work for them. It's a great company.
Now, do you do not only homes, do you do residential and commercial properties that have suffered something like this?
Absolutely. We can do either. We are on almost all major insurance carriers' approved vendor programs. Each insurance carrier has a program that they use to follow standards and rates and things like that for restoration companies and for both commercial and residential. So we can handle either one.
So now, when should a client call you or customer call you? Do they call you before they call the insurance company, or do they call the insurance company first?
Well, a lot of times, it seems like most times, your house doesn't seem to suffer some major disaster from 9 to 5 is what I've come to find out. Seems like it's after hours or the most inconvenient time.
How inconsiderate.
Yes, I know. But they should call. You want to make sure things are covered. But ultimately, you want to, the biggest responsibility as a homeowner you have is to make sure that nothing gets worse. You want to, you basically stop the bleeding. So often they'll call us first because they need somebody to come out and make sure that things stop, to get the wet carpet off the floor, to remove the water so it doesn't, expand and go throughout more parts of the house, things of that nature. They can call, obviously if it's during the office hours, they can get a hold of their agent. Most insurance companies now have 24-hour claim service. They're able to call there, but they want to be able to pick the restoration company that they want. So if they call us directly, we can go out and start the work while they make the other calls and get things taken care of. Like I said, because we operate on those vendor programs and we operate within the scope of what each insurance company allows, the person's not going to have trouble getting coverage. The only time that is an issue is if it's something that's not an emergency, like not storm related, if it's something that they did or it's something that wouldn't be covered by their policy. But water, wind, fire, smoke, those things, they're covered. They're all covered under our regular insurance policy.
So then if these wonderful disasters that happen are so inconsiderate and inconvenient, if at 2 o'clock in the morning, a tree comes flying through the roof and it's storming out, can they get a hold of you? Is somebody going to answer at your office at 2 o'clock in the morning? Or, what happens in those events?
Absolutely. We are staffed with a live person to answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So the way that basically works is, somebody answers the phone, and we have different parts of our team that are on call that are, to respond to those things, and we get somebody out there. So absolutely. In the beginning of this, or not this month, but in January, when we had the polar vortex and everybody's pipes froze, we had people out all day, all night, I feel like for weeks. But absolutely, they'll get a live person.
Yeah, because the last thing you're thinking of is, oh my God, what do I do? And in a windstorm like last night, the last thing you're going to do is grab a tarp and stick it on top of the roof to stop the water from coming in. So, you would want the experts that, probably have seen this once or twice to come in and at least, I guess, emergency Band-Aid the situation until you put a plan together, I guess is really what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
So what have you seen then as the biggest disaster? What do you deal with mostly with Mark 1?
I think the most common and most frequent losses that we see are water related, whether it is rain coming through a roof or shingles blowing off, or frozen pipes. Frozen pipes are huge because in the wintertime, they freeze. A lot of times it happens after that freeze. When they thaw out, people notice that they have a problem. Those kinds of things. Water heaters that explode, burst out and explode. Explode may not be the right word, but the water all comes out the bottom, and damaging carpet and things like that in finished basements. But even non-finished basements, you need to get the water out because ultimately, if you don't, now you're talking mold, and then you're getting into coverage issues if you don't do something about it with your insurance company. But water is probably the most frequent. We've got all kinds of really cool equipment to take out big trucks that we use to extract water. We have obviously dehumidifiers, fans, air movers, things that will dry something out. We try to dry it out without having to cut drywall and remove things. Do the least damage as possible so people can stay in their homes or get back in their homes as fast as possible. But that's the most. Furnace puffbacks in the fall when people start to turn off on their furnace. They're a big one because they might turn it on and then smoke kind of goes all through your house and you get soot and things through your house. Fires are big, not as frequent, but that's another specialty. So I would think, we've had cars that run into the sides of houses that we have to go in because there's fluids that come out of the car, things like that, and we specialize in odor removal and specialty cleaning. We also do cleanup of fire suppression systems in kitchens, at restaurants. If something would set that off, obviously that kitchen has to be cleaned very, very well, and all that dust that goes everywhere, we take care of that. So
specialty cleaning. Now, do you call that division Mary Marks?
Yeah. If the guys know that, they're going to love that one. Yes.
So it sounds like you handle a lot. Mold, it doesn't sound like comes up a lot of times, but perhaps, because it's caused by moisture, that maybe gets left untreated for so much time. If they were to just give you a call, from the get-go to repair whatever issue there may be. So when it comes to water, then, being that that's the number one disaster, I suppose, or happens more often than not, if you've got issues with your basement and leakage, especially, we've had a lot of rain in the last couple of weeks, and you've got water, seeping in through the walls, pouring in through the walls, whatever the case may be, those walls could be holding back a lot of water in the ground. So if that water comes in, your first job is to get out and get the water out, dry it out as best you can. And then let's get into, in that particular scenario, what do you guys do, or what kind of services do you provide to correct an issue like that?
Well, it's a little bit of a hairy situation when it gets to be water that's in the ground that's coming in the basement, because you get into coverage issues. I have an insurance background, and it's always a tough one because a lot of policies don't cover groundwater that comes in the basement like that. But regardless, it's something that needs fixed because you can't just let it continue to happen. Mold will grow, which is not good, and We would go in, we would extract the water. If there's any water actually, like standing water, we would make sure we extract that. We make sure we spray any kind of antimicrobials or things like that to make sure mold does not grow. And then if the house is structurally deficient, we have people to make sure that they can look at that. And if we need to subcontract somebody to take care of that, whether it's a foundation or if it's coming in through a wall, I mean, it could come through the roof, down walls, and into the basement. If whatever it takes, we make sure we write an estimate to fix that and then present that estimate to the insurance adjuster who approves it. And then we go from there. If it's something that's not covered, obviously the homeowner needs to approve it and then would be responsible for paying for it. But we basically would take care of making sure that they get back to having a sound house and an environment that they can live in without that damage.
So, I mean, it sounds like the end result really is to kind of very quickly and efficiently get you back to before the disaster.
Exactly. And if people want to make improvements as they do this, I mean, we've had times where somebody has, let's say, a fire and we redo their kitchen and they say, well, I didn't like those cabinets, I want something else. We absolutely can do those improvements. Now, that extra cost, the homeowner is going to pay, the insurance company is going to pay for what they had, and they'll pay the extra, but they can do things like that as well. So we can take care of, we show them samples of, whether it's carpet, cabinets, whatever it might be, and let them choose. We work with the homeowner and the insurance company to make sure that we're following what will be covered and paid for by the insurance company and what will make the homeowner happy in their house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to actually pay some bills here and run a few spots. Jannene, hang on the line, and we'll be right back.
Sure, thank you.
The Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer. We'll be right back. List for free? The real estate market is hot, and Brokers Realty can list your home for as little as 0%. You choose the plan that suits you best. Choose options up to 3% for premium service that include a 3D virtual tour and a vacation getaway for two. Google brokersrealty.com or text 0 to list to 79564. That's ZEROTOLIST to 79564.
Are you working with a mortgage company that offers pre-approvals or just pre-qualifications? Does your mortgage company reward police, firefighters, military, teachers, and nurses with better rates and fees? How would you like to apply and be updated on the status of your loan right from your phone? Introducing GSF Mortgage Corporation, where technology and relationships make the difference. Visit pagoloan.com to apply or call 717-200-4800 for more information. NMLS number 1018.
Buying or selling a home? For professional home inspection, call EnviroQuest of Harrisburg. Their certified home inspectors will conduct a thorough inspection and provide a detailed report with many pictures. They'll explain the findings. Do you have elevated radon levels in your house? Call EnviroQuest. They have fixed over 10,000 homes over the last 25 years. For a professional home inspection or radon mitigation, call EnviroQuest at 233-6144, 233-6144, or visit EnviroQuest online at evqharrisburg.com. That's evqharrisburg.com.
Back to the show, The Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer.
Well, we're back. Hey, Jannene, it's John. Hey, are there standards in your industry or anything like that? I mean, I know, home inspectors have to have certifications. Other than being, registered with the state, are there any certifications or that Mark I has?
Absolutely. The restoration industry follows the IICRC, which is the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification. So we follow their standards, and that is the only accepted standard for water damage, fire damage, and trauma cleanup. So there are, because we do the biohazard, the trauma cleanup, there gets to be some specialty certifications and things that people can get, but it's all governed by that IICRC standard. Because there are, when you do a trauma cleanup especially, or crime scene cleanup, that you've got things like blood and things like that have to be dealt with in a very special way.
Oh, hey, wait, we got a whole new show here.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, this
is
my daughter's heavily into this, and of course, even though it scares me a little bit,
she's into biohazards.
Well, Abby from NCIS.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So she's into forensics and all the rest of that. So when the topic of what you call a trauma episode comes on, this just piques my interest a little bit. So what kind of trauma incidents do you actually get involved with? I mean, have you had any Kool-Aid issues?
No. I mean, it's not a nice topic because a lot of times, I mean, there's crime scenes. It could be as simple as something that someone tried to break in a house and punch through a window, and now you have blood on the window, and there's a certain way that has to be cleaned up. Unfortunately, the non-glamorous side is somebody passes away and they live in an apartment building, and if they live alone and somebody doesn't find them for a while, those kinds of things, we had one of the things in downtown Harrisburg where there was a shooting, and if somebody gets shot, those kinds of things. So they are very specialized areas of how to handle that cleanup.
And I would imagine a lot of times in your business, you see a lot of combination things where it may have been a fire and now there's water damage, and then you've got mold on top of that. So a lot of these things are all interrelated, and then you probably get into the reconstruction then too, right?
Absolutely. We actually had recently. We work a lot with property managers to try to help them and be a go-between so that we can deal directly with. There's sometimes obviously there's an owner, there's a tenant, there's the property manager, there's the insurance company, there's us to try to take the complication out of it. But we recently had one where there was a person who got severely injured, and as they were trying to run out of the building, they actually set the building on fire for whatever reason. And as they did that, of course, then the fire company comes, and then you have to put the fire out. So now you've got biohazard cleanup, you've got the fire damage, now you've got the water from the fire hoses. So you have a multifaceted situation, cleanup situation, as well as then the reconstruction, because we will do the reconstruction from beginning to end.
Now we're talking. Now it sounds like a CSI episode. So, guy gets injured. I mean, probably a disgruntled employee, right? So he gets injured by getting whacked in the back of the head with a golf club. He's delirious, sets the building on fire, goes running out and just disappears into the crowd, right? Because, of course, there's a parade going on that day as he's running out of the building. We've got an episode we're building here. So
we should write into the show.
And this is kind of a roundabout way of getting back to kind of some of the certifications that we were talking about. But when you're talking about blood, I mean, you have to take certain precautions because of certain diseases, and I guess you don't want your workers to get anything from the blood and or what may be going on in these situations. So do they have to go through any sort of hazmat training for stuff like that?
Certain people do, yes. So the people that are going to handle that do have training they have to go through. Of course, we have Tyvek suits and masks and things like that people wear in that situation, or even in a severe mold situation. I mean, when you start to see, it amazes me when I started working at Mark I, some of the pictures that you see of some of the damages of that mold and things like that can cause, or situations they can put you in as well. So in those instances, there are definitely steps to follow, but we make sure that they are protected. And then, of course, that anything that is cleaned up is disposed of properly according to the rules. Because we have things like, we've sometimes an oil spill in a house, if they have an above-ground tank, things like that. And then, the EPA has certain standards that have to be followed. So it's so different for each and everything.
So you actually even do some environmental cleanup in the case of that oil tank?
Well, if it's in the house, not so much if it's in the ground or the oil spills out. We don't really handle the digging in the ground portion. But we've had an oil tank in a house that it seeped into the concrete, those kinds of things. And sometimes it can be cleaned up, and then it's just a matter of odor, extracting the odors, which we have machines that can run to take odor out of the air. It's kind of amazing. We have machines that take all the oxygen out of the air, so obviously nobody can be home, but take the oxygen out of the air, and it basically cleans it and removes all odor. And I am not in the very technical, because I'm not actually trained in that area to say exactly how those things work, but it's amazing what they can do and what they can clean, because, you know, when you figure when you have a fire or water damage, and you have photo albums and you have stuffed animals or you have clothes, you have all these different things that, you know, can be damaged or that are wet or that have soot on them or what it might be. And so some of the things we bring back to our warehouse, we clean them there. We have people that actually, you know, clean your items, make sure that there's not smell in them. If it's something like a stuffed animal or clothing, you know, we send it to somebody, a dry cleaner that works with that we work with, and make sure to, you know, get that clean so you can keep those things, because people end up losing a lot of really important, you know, memories and things like that if it's not handled quickly and taken care of in the right way.
And that was actually going to be my next topic. So, you know, if you've got, you know, water issues in the basement, or you had a broken pipe, and you and I both know there's thousands of DIYers out there, one of them being myself, or cheapskates that just don't want to have to pay for anything. But at the end of the day, if you don't handle it correctly, it obviously could end up costing you a lot more than you anticipated. But what have you seen from scenarios where people said, it's fine, you know, let's just hold off, we can wash it up on our own? What happens if you don't take the right steps?
Well, there are times where, we just recently had somebody had a very small water issue that their toilet overflowed. They got the water off the floor immediately. They put a couple of their own personal fans up, and they happened to have a small dehumidifier. They ran it. We went out and we have moisture meters that it's a device that you can put on a wall or a floor, and it tells you how wet the wall or floor is. Because sometimes it doesn't look wet, but the drywall could be wet behind the paint, sort of. But they dried it fast enough; it was fine. So it can happen if you do it fast. It's a small loss. You can do it yourself. But when it comes to something's been sitting there, or it's a much bigger loss, water gets into carpet padding, things like that, and your top of your carpet might seem dry, but then you've got the wet padding underneath. If it's not dried properly, you can have things like mold grow. But the biggest part is if things aren't handled quickly and they're not handled correctly, you can risk denial of coverage by your insurance carrier. If you don't clean and dry your personal property and store them in a climate-controlled place, they can be completely ruined. And like I said, the irreplaceable items, that's where that really comes in, because whether it's your insurance company paying for it or you paying for it, you can go out and buy a new set of dishes, but you can't go buy, your kids, elementary school photos. So there's certain things that you just really have to make sure that if there's any question, that they're taken care of properly so that you don't lose them.
Interesting. Now, growing up, I lived in a house that had a well and a septic. And if you had overflowing rains, and if you had any sort of water issues in your basement, it was always getting out the shop vac and getting a bunch of fans to get in there real quick and take care of the situation. But then, you've got a hot water heater burst, and you're talking about a finished basement. And if you've got that much water in a basement, if you don't handle it, I've seen firsthand, in areas like the drywall, the water can get into the drywall, seep up, cause moisture, cause mold issues. And, that's something that you're going to have to take care of on your own if you don't have a company come out and take care of it right away. So,
right.
In that instance, everybody's going to ask the question as far as cost. And, obviously there's not a one fit for all answer, as you probably already know and are going to attest to. Every house and every situation is going to be different. But from a typical standpoint of a disaster, which is what we're talking about, if it's not the water from the outside tables.
It sounds like most of their work is insurance claims.
Right. So so people don't necessarily have to worry about coming up with thousands of dollars to get this done correctly and done it right. they should probably just give you a call right away and find out. I mean, because it sounds to me like you worked in the insurance industry, you understand how all this works. So I guess the question is should they worry about the cost, or should they call you and ask you?
Well, when they call us, I mean, they should definitely, when they call us, we don't know, we don't have everybody's policy and read the entire policy, of course, but because we work with these insurance companies on a regular basis, we know what is, for the regular, normal type of losses out there, we know what is covered and what is not. I mean, there's always a chance that there's going to be some crazy loss that we're going to say, hey, we're going to write an estimate, we're going to call the adjuster, we're going to do whatever, we're going to make sure that they're going to cover this before we go any farther. But normally the thing is, if you're sitting there and your water heater bursts, you got to get the water off the floor. So that has to happen. And you can try to say you want to shop vac it yourself, but if it's a big enough thing, people don't have the equipment or ability to do it. So you have to get somebody to clean it up, at which point then, if it would not be covered, you would basically owe the restoration company. But I know personally, last year I experienced this water heater bursting, and I went through it. And the main cost is you've got your deductible on your homeowner's policy. So whatever that might be, mine was $1,000. So, and then because the water heater being old is not covered, I basically had the cost of the water heater. So the cost of my deductible and the cost of my water heater, but then all the carpet that Mark 1 had to rip out, and all of the fans that they set and the dehumidifiers that they set that ran for a few days, the guys coming out to check the moisture in the walls, they had to remove like my baseboard trim, because luckily we caught it fast enough that it only affected the trim. So to take that off, to repaint it, to put it back up, all those things. That bill was, I think that the total bill was somewhere close to $15,000 by the time it was said and done, and they had to put all new carpet. That's what was all paid by the insurance company. So normally people are only going to have their deductible.
Jannene, going back to, Kingsley's preoccupation with the biohazard, he's still thinking about that.
Hey, I came up with 2 other episodes in my head while we were talking.
Now inquiring minds just want to know. I mean, does somebody's homeowner's insurance pay for that sometimes?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, yes, because it's not. Homeowners policies usually pay for sudden and accidental losses. So if something happens, if there is I don't know, let's say there's a gunfight and somebody shoots somebody and now there's a bullet through the wall, that's a sudden accidental thing. So the repair to that wall is going to, be paid for, as well as if somebody, would be shot and now you have, I'm trying to say this without being too graphic here. You have blood, you have things, we would clean that up, and that would be paid for because that's a result of that. So absolutely.
Just had another episode pop into my head. That stray bullet, it's got to go somewhere, right? So what if it goes into a propane tank and explodes the right-hand side of the house? Would that be covered, or would this be another CSI episode?
You can shoot propane tanks all day. They don't explode.
Shh, we're talking about TV here.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I mean, that should be covered. And again, I'm not. I've been out of the insurance industry for a little while as far as that goes. I mean, every policy there, but that should be covered because fire, explosion, things like that are covered. When I'm sure you heard about that when the UGI thing happened down in Millersville and that house exploded and the whole entire house exploded, and parts of that house went onto the neighboring houses, and we went down to start some of the cleanup for that, and that was all covered for people because even though it wasn't their house, it was the neighboring house that caused it. It was still sudden and accidental and causing damage to their house.
So Jannene, I was looking here on your guys' website. You guys have 7 offices. Are you a franchise, or are you just wholly owned locally?
We are not a franchise, so we have those offices. And we're all, it's just like I said, but no, not a franchise. We have one owner, Mark Schultz is his name. He's in our one of our New Jersey offices. And yep, no franchises. We have a different office manager in each of our offices that run that particular office and manage that staff, but it's not a franchise.
So, I mean, we've gone through a lot of hypothetical scenarios and disasters, and obviously I'm sure there's a lot of people out there today that with the winds and the storms that we've had, and of course with all the ice melt, etc. First of all, is there an emergency line that you guys have, a phone number? Is it the same phone number as your company? And what is that phone number?
Well, you can call, yes, our regular office. So in this area, it's 717-561-1255. And then we also have our website, which is, it's Mark, then the number 1, restoration.net. There's information on there as well. That number, even if you were in an area, more towards Philadelphia or New Jersey, if you call one of our offices, we can get you to the right office. Or after hours, whoever answers the phone, because that rotates through who it is, they make sure that the right on-call manager gets that phone call. So as long as people know one number, they're good to go. They can call in. We're open 7:30 to 5 with our regular staff, and we try to do most of our work during that time because it's regular rates. Obviously, if it's after hours, there's an after hours rate, which the insurance company is aware of, and they will pay for that in a covered loss. And people really just need to know that if they have something that happens, if they have a wind damage, if they have smoke or a fire or water, that their responsibility is to minimize the damage, is to stop any further damage. So if they cannot do it themselves, then they need to call somebody, because otherwise the insurance company can say, hey, you just let this go, and they could cause themselves some coverage issues. So they want to call. And a phone call doesn't cost them anything. They can call in and say, this is what my situation is, and we could say, yes, we can help you, that will be covered, or we want to check with your insurance company, or, we're going to advise them in the best way possible, and take it from there.
Well, I've certainly been educated.
Yeah, very interesting.
And I'm going to call CSI up to, give them some of my show ideas as well out of all this. But at the end of the day, it really sounds like if you've got a disaster, something that has hit your home, don't underestimate the costs and what can happen if you don't repair it correctly and quickly. And at the end of the day, it sounds like for the most part, 90% of the time, I guess that's a bad percentage, but a lot of the times, or most of the time, insurance is going to cover it. You're going to be at your deductible. So first things first, take care of your house and your family. Make the phone call. Call Mark 1 if they're in the area, and have them help you out, especially, obviously, if it's an emergency. They're on call 24/7.
Right.
Jannene, I appreciate you coming on. Our listeners appreciate you coming on. We all learned a lot. Have a great weekend.
Hey, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. Maybe I'm going to go watch some CSI now.
I'll look at it differently,
Thank
that's
you.
for sure.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All righty. So, obviously, we've got the water issues now, right? We've got the groundwater that's seeping into the houses, and most houses in our area, probably come built in or with sump pumps. And, that's a great segue into, our
John Staz section.
Yeah, our
Mr. EnviroQuest.
Yes, John. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
So, I'm sure your phone's ringing off the hook this morning with water issues. Sump pumps and et cetera seems to be kind of like a topic that just came up perfectly with the weather that we've been having. So what can you tell us about sump pumps?
Sure. As home inspectors, we see it from the standpoint of, not working, or we see it gives us an opinion of the best way to do things in some respect. So just to notate some of the things that we find with sump pumps, the key things, a lot of times we see that sump pumps are installed improperly and they're not functioning as they're intended to, which exposes the home to high risk of flooding, or obviously the sump is there to get rid of the water. One of the big things we see is using flexible pipe to run your sump. We like to see them hard piped with like a Schedule 40, the thicker white pipe, or the ABS is black, of course, but we like to see that hard piped and secured to the wall so that the piping can't move or rub against something, get a hole in it, or move around or vibrate. And then also regarding the piping, we'd like to see it drained at least 6 to 10 feet away from the home. We see a lot of times where a sump is draining right next to the foundation, so the water just sort of recycles. It dumps the water next to the foundation, runs down the foundation, comes right back into the sump, so it's running almost continuously.
So let me just back up a second here for the ignorant like myself. I mean, what exactly is a sump pump?
The sump pump is a pit is dug in the basement, and then a sump crock, which is the liner for the pit, is installed, and then the pump is put down there below the basement grade. So it gets rid of two types of water, theoretically. So the first type of water would be, let's say your water heater breaks, surface water entering the basement, run across the basement floor, and then enter through the lid, through the drain, or somehow get into the sump pump. It'll pump that water out. The second type of water would be subsurface water, such as if the water table is coming up or water that's coming below the slab. So that type of water, the water table, you may not even see water in your basement, but it's coming from under the slab.
So a sump pump is more or less like an upflush system that they've got in basements for bathrooms. It's basically pumping water up and out of the basement to an area that's hopefully not going to get back into your home.
Yes, yeah. For a bathroom in your basement, that would be what's called a grinder pit, which is an airtight system for getting sewer water out. That's usually sealed off. That's not going to be installed to get rid of groundwater or surface water. But same theory. It's basically a pump and a holding pit. Another thing we see a lot of times is that homeowners will try to say, well, it's expensive to install a sump pump. I'm going to try to do it myself. And so they end up not installing a proper sump crock, which is like the casing that the sump pump goes into. When that happens, you can get all sorts of dirt and debris going into that pit, and then that'll wear the sump out real quickly. So you need to have a proper crock there, which will filter the dirt and things like that out so that the pump will last as long as it's supposed to.
Now, your typical homeowner, I mean, to retro a sump pump, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's logical to me. I mean, because when you're putting a sump pump in, that basement ground has to be graded theoretically to where all the water is going to run towards that pit, right?
Yeah, we do see that sometimes. We install the radon systems. We have a sump that seems like, hey, it's installed properly, and then we dig on the other side of the basement, and there's still a lot of water there. So sometimes, we see with the basement waterproofing systems, like more than one sump, just because of the subsurface geology or the way the rocks are. Sometimes it's hard to drain the whole basement with one, and two are needed. But yeah, that has to do with the type of soil and the depth of the sump pit. That goes back to one of my other points of having a proper crock and make sure that it's deep enough. And that's when installing a sump pump, one of the biggest expenses is digging a 2 or 3 foot deep hole through, if you have shale or rock that's under your home. It can be rather costly or a lot labor intensive to get that done.
John, I've been in a lot of new homes, where they have that sump crock, set in there, and then, they obviously it's tied in with the footer drains, but they have no sump pump in it. Would you recommend, just as a general rule, that if you have a sump crock, should you go ahead and have a pump, just go ahead and have it installed just in case?
Well, sometimes they're not really needed, but I would recommend like the just in case phrase you used. if you're going to finish your basement for sure, just in case. Sometimes if a house is on a hillside, they'll have what's called a gravity drain, where there's a pipe that goes from inside the sump pit to outside, and then there's a series of piping that drains down a hill. So gravity itself drains any subsurface water that would come in there. But I would say, just in case, if you're going to spend all that money finishing your basement, it's often a good idea to put a pump in there, and then also consider a battery backup. When you need it the most during a storm, a lot of times getting heavy rainfalls and electricity goes out, so you need that battery backup sometimes.
Interesting. Yeah, and then also you got to take into account the hot water heater or the pipe burst too. So if you've got that much water coming into the basement, you need something to account for that kind of volume. So yeah. So
sure.
if I'm sure with this weekend there might be a lot of people questioning whether or not their setup is accurate, or whether or not they need to put a sump pump in. What is the best number to call you on to say, hey, John, come out, check out my house, tell me if I'm good?
Sure. Best number is 717-233-6144.
And, of course, as always, evqharrisburg.com. And you can always find John Staz on Facebook. And we, of course, will have John's link up on our Real Estate Radio Guys Facebook page here shortly after the show. John, thanks for coming on this weekend. Try to stay.
Great, thanks for having me.
Don't get blown away, and hopefully you don't have too many major incidents at your own house.
Get both hands on the steering wheel this weekend, huh?
No
That's
kidding.
right. Yeah, go fly a kite.
Hey, good. No, not a good idea. All right. Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.
The Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer. We'll be right back. List for free? The real estate market is hot, and Brokers Realty can list your home for as little as 0%. You choose the plan that suits you best. Choose options up to 3% for premium service that include a 3D virtual tour and a vacation getaway for two. Google brokersrealty.com or text 0 to list to 79564. That's ZEROTOLIST to 79564.
Everyone wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, if only they knew the best way to do it. Hi, I'm John Rainville.
And I'm Kingsley Harmer.
And we're the Real Estate Radio Guys. We bring over 40 years' experience to talk about all things real estate.
Weekly, we'll discuss the latest trends, hot topics, along with tips and techniques that could save you thousands and eliminate headaches.
So tune in to the Real Estate Radio Guys, Saturdays at 8 a.m. here on WHYL 102.9. Real topics, real answers for real people.
Are you working with a mortgage company that offers pre-approvals or just pre-qualifications? Does your mortgage company reward police, firefighters, military, teachers, and nurses with better rates and fees? How would you like to apply and be updated on the status of your loan right from your phone? Introducing GSF Mortgage Corporation, where technology and relationships make the difference. Visit pagoloan.com to apply or call 717-200-4800 for more information. NMLS number 1018.
Everyone wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, if only they knew the best way to do it. Hi, I'm John Rainville.
And I'm Kingsley Harmer.
And we're the Real Estate Radio Guys. We bring over 40 years' experience to talk about all things real estate.
Weekly, we'll discuss the latest trends, hot topics, along with tips and techniques that could save you thousands and eliminate headaches.
So tune in to the Real Estate Radio Guys, Saturdays at 8 a.m. here on WHYL 102.9. Real topics, real answers for real people.
Buying or selling a home? For professional home inspection, call EnviroQuest of Harrisburg. Their certified home inspectors will conduct a thorough inspection and provide a detailed report with many pictures. They'll explain.
Back to the show, the Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville.
Well, we're back.
Interesting show.
I mean, hopefully the winds stop before we have to leave the studio and fly home.
Yeah. Well, like I was telling John, I'm going to try it with a kite. The only problem is landing after the fact. So it's nice to know, because nobody thinks about disasters ahead of time. You don't think about a tree come flying through your window at 2 o'clock in the morning often.
Well, and I was looking on their
Mark One's website, or a school bus crashing into your house.
There's another CSI episode.
Right. I mean, that was not something that, I thought about for them.
No, I didn't think about that either.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess theoretically any disaster is a disaster. And somebody's got to come out and...
Any disaster is a disaster?
Yeah. That's the statement of the show. All right. So you got to have somebody come out and fix it.
Yep, you might as well get them. Yep, get somebody that's an expert in it.
Well, and the good thing is since they cover such a large area, call one of their numbers, and no matter what time of the day or night it is, they'll have somebody out there.
I wonder if that's covered in the Chuck in a Truck manual that you can get at Home Depot.
Any disaster's a disaster?
Well, disaster restoration.
I highly doubt it.
Okay.
It sounds to me like they have a number of teams and a number of different individuals that are seasoned for whatever the disaster may be. I mean, everything from biohazards, like you said, to mold, to water issues and fire.
Absolutely.
And I never even quite thought about the aspect of what do you do with all your stuff after the fact. Apparently they work with different companies to help restore
your photographs, your stuffed teddy bear will be okay.
Exactly.
No mold on Twinkie Bear or whatever it is.
Twinkie Bear.
Yeah.
Right.
So as we're heading in towards wrapping up the show, I just do want to impress upon our listeners right now that we are still pushing hard to get listing inventory. The market is still tight on inventory. And something that you may want to think about if you're looking to make that move up or move down, one of the places, as a real estate broker with 30 years experience here, is you need to talk to somebody like Kingsley to get pre-approved, even though you're in a home now and you're going to be buying another one, to really have the guidance. Because most people want to make only one move. And the only way we can best orchestrate that for you as a realtor is to be able to already have your financing lined up and then make it so that everything settles on the same day and you can make that simple one move.
Yeah, and we've got a situation now, and everybody's is different, and they have a house that they don't necessarily maybe want to sell right away. It could be in an area that might not be an extremely hot market, so a lot of people want to call up and know whether or not they'll qualify to purchase another home while they still have a mortgage on another one.
Absolutely.
And, if you've got that house that you see on the market that you just have to have, you want to be ready for that house. And that possibility certainly does exist. There's always a scenario to say, well, hey, you could possibly rent this out if you think your money's tight. But that's certainly one of the things that I'll discuss with you as far as, what your options are. Keep it as a rental, sell it. And there's a lot of other, off the wall, I should say, or
pre-flight planning. So, if you have questions on the real estate market, feel free to reach out to me at 717-554-7430. If you have questions regarding financing, reach out to Kingsley at
717-200-4800.
Of course, all of our contact information is on our Facebook page, and we'll be posting up Mark One's information. Of course, John Staz and EnviroQuest's information is always there. But folks, please use us as your guides and as a resource to help you if you have any questions on this.
So, yeah, great show.
On our Facebook page, we're looking at a new name for our show to be called Real Estate a la Mode, and we'd like some input on that on our Facebook page, if you could please give us some.
Yeah. So as of right now, we're branded Real Estate Radio Guy.
Right, but they could get the scoop.
They could get the scoop every week
at Alamode.
At Alamode. So hopefully that'll be coming up here shortly. And as John and I fish through our new technologies, hopefully in the next coming weeks, we're going to
actually be available on your Roku.
On Roku,
live stream,
a little bit more interactive as well, because We're going to have slideshows, videos available. to kind of show some of the stuff that we're doing on the shows and some of our guests. So until next week,
real questions,
real people,
real answers.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer. For more great content,